Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 107.5 FM WSFD-LP Westfield.
Support for the community programming provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Good morning. Pete, I got a wicked bad echo going on here.
I think I know why. How about now?
Let's see. Yeah, that's much better. Thank you.
Yeah.
I when I put my headphones on earlier, music was coming all over. I'm like, okay, wait, what's going on? Perfect. Thank you so much. Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:01 now that I don't have an echo, so I can hear myself coming back and reverberating.
Yeah.
Yep. Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:01. You are listening to WSFD 107.5 FM on your dial and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I am your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with Pete Coles, back from his trip to Indiana.
That was crazy.
So, Pete, do tell. Pete went out for the Final Four.
Yep.
And so tell what happened while I adjust the volume on my headphones.
We got some of the hoopla. We tried to do a show. Unfortunately, we had a technical crash right in the middle of the show.
Oh, no. What happened?
The computer just died.
Pete.
And I was only able to recover 25 of the 38 minutes, and we finished the show. And I said, we've done this before. It's happened once before. I've been able to recover the file.
Yes.
Well, this time I wasn't able to recover the file.
Oh.
And then Coach was like, all right, you know what? Let's just pick it up next week. So that's what we did. We're just going to pick it up this week. But we were out there. We did some stuff. I explored Anderson, Indiana, and I had a great time.
Okay. Okay.
Met up with my cousin on Easter.
Oh, that's great.
He's a widower. He lives in Fort Wayne.
And how far was that from
About
Indiana?
an hour.
Okay, not bad.
Well, Anderson was an hour from Indy,
Okay.
about 50 minutes, and then it was another hour out to Fort Wayne. So
Okay.
yeah, Coach came back
Now, were
on
you
Sunday.
where were you staying?
I was staying in Anderson.
You stayed in Anderson. I knew you weren't going to stay right in Indianapolis.
No,
Okay.
you couldn't find a hotel.
Yeah, it was just crazy.
Well,
I'm sure.
actually, I could, but it would have been kind of a nasty.
Yeah, it was either going to be a nasty or it was going to be like $3,000 a night kind of thing. So
Right.
Either way, yeah.
I went
not
for
what you want.
comfortable, and I didn't mind the drive.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So, did you get to see any Coach celebrity kind of people or anything?
Yeah, we saw. I saw faces that I recognized from doing the show for so long.
Yes.
But we were down there kind of trying to do stuff before everybody really got in,
Yes.
because most people got in on Friday
Okay.
for the games on Friday.
Yes.
And we taped our show on Thursday afternoon or Friday during the day.
Okay.
Before it got really crazy.
Yep.
But I didn't really want to be down there trying to find parking and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and Coach went out there there was a convention. What is it? It was a coaches convention.
National Coaches Convention.
Okay.
Basketball Coaches Convention.
Okay.
So he went out there for that.
Okay.
And then he ended up coming back on Sunday, and I just said, you know what? I'm here. I have a hotel. It has a pool, indoor pool. I'm going to enjoy the day, which is what I did on Sunday. And then I came back Monday afternoon.
Okay.
And then basically slept yesterday.
Yeah. How was the trip there and back, Pete?
Down, I kind of staggered it because I wanted to not be completely wiped out when I got there.
Right.
But I drove all the way home. I left around 10:30 in the morning, and I got here just before midnight.
Wow. Yeah, that's a long drive.
Yep.
I know when Gary was, when my husband was going to chiropractic school out in Davenport, Iowa, I've done that trip. So right through Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, which goes on forever.
Yeah, see, my trip was mostly Interstate 90.
Okay.
So I went through
We
Buffalo.
took 80. We used to take 80.
Right, because you're going to New Jersey.
Yeah, we were in New Jersey at the time.
Right, so it's a better drive, and it's actually quicker to drive through Buffalo.
Okay.
And to come...
Good to know.
69 to 70 to 90.
Yep.
70 to 90.
Okay. Well, it was nice that you got to visit family while you were out there.
Yeah.
That's
it was
great.
good for my cousin Brian because he's a widower now, so...
Yeah.
It was nice to have somebody to have dinner with on Easter. So.
Absolutely. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. What was the weather like out there, Pete?
It was same as Florida. It was warm for the first couple of days.
Okay. But you had an indoor pool this time, so yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so that was nice.
It was much better. Yeah, no, overall I had a
Nice.
pretty good time.
Good.
It was an interesting experience. We never ended up getting credentials for the thing. I would have stayed, I think, for the right through here we gotten credentials, but
Yeah.
we never heard back either way.
Oh,
so it was
okay.
like, you don't want to crash the party. And
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We did try to do the show on the deck of a parking garage.
Well, I was going to ask you where you actually did the show.
Right. So since I was semi-mobile,
Yep.
We did it on the roof deck of a parking garage, which was right in front of the JW Marriott.
Okay.
Which is a 35-story tall hotel.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And on that, they had the entire bracket.
Okay.
So you had a picture of the bracket behind Coach.
Nice.
And he was talking about it. And they had it updated. So it was like updated right to the Final Four.
Oh, that's great.
It was
great.
Yeah, it would have been really cool. But,
yeah.
you know, you learn things.
Hey, you know what?
If I'd hit one more record button on one more device, I would have been fine. But I forgot. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
And I was so bummed at myself. I wanted to record it again. Coach was like, "Nah, he says something about tempting fate."
Yeah.
So I'm like, "All right, well,
that's too bad."
We tried.
Yep. You have, yeah. All right.
If I had a budget and crew,
yes.
You know,
Different
we
story.
watched them setting up the CBS thing. Mm-hmm. Actually, it wasn't even on CBS. It was on one on TBS.
TNT or TBS?
Turner Broadcasting had it, yeah. So we watched them setting up their sets and stuff like that. And I said, see, Coach, see how many people it takes to set that stuff? That's just to set up the set.
Yep.
Like on the square. That's not even like the full set inside or the crew. I guarantee there had to be a couple hundred people.
Oh yeah,
easily working on those shows.
I'm sure. Well, I have to tell you, James Jordan and I were we were just back and forth, both with the women's and the men's. First of all, I was shocked. I have to say, I was surprised at the UConn men that they made it to the final. I didn't.
See, I wasn't shocked about that.
Well, I didn't. I had no take on Illinois. I hadn't watched Illinois play at all. So I was pleasantly surprised. So I was like, okay, that's great. I was shocked that Arizona lost in the semifinal because I saw Arizona play last week and I said, there's nobody that's going to beat Arizona. Well, Arizona looked like they forgot to show up for the game, and Michigan just took it to them.
Michigan was on fire.
And then
they lit hot.
They were on fire. And then I was pleasantly surprised, that UConn men did as well as they did against Michigan, given what they had to work with. There was no stopping Michigan. They had those big guys, and there was just. I think my personal feeling is, and I don't know, Coach Kit, I'd be interested in his take. If UConn had been making their threes, they would have been standing a chance, I think. But they weren't banging in threes at that game against Michigan.
But if you live by the three, you die by the three.
Oh, no, I agree. But the fact is that you weren't getting on the inside with Michigan. They were just, they were just like, bing, sorry, you're
yep.
You're not getting this ball in the basket. We're way too tall.
Rejected.
Yeah. And then on the women's side, I, of course, was surprised that UConn women lost in the semifinal, but more surprised that South Carolina also forgot to show up to the final game against UCLA. UCLA they were like Michigan on the men's side, unstoppable. They deserved everything they got. So Congratulations to UCLA women. Congratulations to Michigan men. And you know what? That's why they call it madness, because it's like, how did this happen? What happened here?
Yep.
But it's been a great month. James and I have had a ball. We compare notes every day. We text each other during the games, and we've just had a lot of fun with it. And I know a lot of people have had a lot of fun with it. So
yep.
It was
interesting that we thought during the season, because the NCAA is trying to do away with the mid-major automatic bids and things like that. Mm-hmm. They're really trying to get rid of them in favor of the power conferences. That it wouldn't be exciting this year. It'd be kind of boring.
Oh, okay.
Because now you're getting teams with almost 500 records getting in the tournament because they're in a power conference.
Yes.
And it was like,
yeah, right, exactly. How good.
So it turned out to be very good, and I was surprised.
Yeah.
But I think Coach is going to still say that they're going to use this as an example, but it's not. This is not the way it's going to be down the road.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll be interested to hear his take on things. For me, March in New England is a long month with no holidays, and it's tax season for us and at the Senior Center, and it just goes on forever. And March Madness is my joy and my break and my, games to look forward to.
Yep.
So I appreciated all of the entertainment that March Madness provided this year, because it was a long tax season. But we are done with taxes at the Senior Center. Our last day was on Monday. We did over 400 returns this year, as Dan Welsh figured out. So he said, even if you figure the average person, if they had to pay for this, would paid $200, it's $80,000 or some ridiculous amount of money that we saved the seniors. But the reality is that people pay more than $200 to have their taxes done. So I think we did really well. And I appreciate the tax folks, our tax aides, to Dan Welsh and his team of 8. So he was number 9, but there were 9 of them up there. And of course, Monday was our last day, and by Tuesday afternoon, Mike Squindo, our director, had completely rearranged the entire upstairs, because finally, I kind of said, okay, that tax room, the room that we've been tying up for 3.5 months is open for business. So he was busy rearranging furniture and setting things up the way he wanted it. So all good, all good. All right, if you are just joining us this morning, I will have a guest on second hour. We're going to have the second partnership of Jen Jafune. Her husband, Joe Jafune, is going to be with us this morning. Joe is on the Conservation Commission. He's actually chair of the Conservation Commission. And so we're going to be talking with Joe about what the Conservation Commission is, what's the function, a little bit about the history of just conservation commissions in the state of Massachusetts. Why were they established? What are they supposed to do? What's their purpose? How many commissioners are there in Westfield, and what do they do? So we're going to get into all of that second hour. So that should be really interesting, because I knew little to nothing about it. Nothing to little, I guess. But now I know more. So and I will say this. Let me think of this is a recap. So Pete was at the Final Four this past week, and I was busy watching basketball. Had a nice Easter.
I did find it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I tried to get tickets too.
Yeah.
The cheapest ticket was $150.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was better to watch in my hotel.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, because $150, Pete, that's like the nosebleed seats. You'd be watching off the big, jumbotron in the
side. I think was almost $10,000 a seat.
I can't even imagine
down on the
that.
floor.
Yeah, I can't even imagine that.
$10,000 a seat.
I always watch I look at the people behind the coaches, then the players, and I think about that. It's like, how much did you pay to sit there? That's those are amazing seats.
$12,000
Yeah,
a seat. Yeah,
because you can hear everything going on the bench. Like you can hear the coach.
Right, and do you notice the court was elevated?
I have to say I did not notice that.
Yeah, if you look at the bench, it was down below, and the coaches were up high. It was elevated, like they had to step up to get to the court.
You know what, Pete? I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and look at the replay, because, of course, we DVR'd everything.
Yep. If you look back when they're talking to a player, they're way down low, because the coach you sit below court level.
Interesting. Okay. I was too busy watching what was going on the court.
Yep.
All right. So anyway, good weekend. We had a nice Easter. Charlie was with my granddaughter was with her dad this weekend, and Grace sent her with a beautiful Easter dress that Mimsy had ironed, and a nice sweater and nice shoes, and her dad got her an Easter hat. And it just completed the outfit. Yeah, well, he didn't, Grace just said, well, everything's in her backpack, and the dress was all folded and everything. And that's when he said, well, I got her an Easter hat. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. What a great dad.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. It is 6:14. You are listening to WSFD 107.5 FM on your dial and WCPC cable channel 15. We're just going to take a break, and this is the sounds of the season, but I have to tell you, right now it's 28 degrees outside, so it doesn't really feel so much like spring and April, but it is going to be, we are going into a warming trend. I think even starting this afternoon, it's supposed to go up into like 50.
Yeah.
But right now it's freezing. But we're thinking spring thoughts, so we're going to listen to Pat Boone singing April Love. We'll be back.
April love is for the very young. Every star's a wishing star that shines for you. April love is all the 7 wonders. One little kiss can tell you this is true. Sometimes April will savory showers into flowers for first bouquet. April love slip through your curves. He's the one, don't hurry. Don't hurry. Signs an April day, we bring flowers, red flowers for her bouquet. But April through fingers, so he's fun at her run away.
Support for community programming provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. Visit bettsplumbing.com or 14 Coleman Avenue, Westfield. Public welcome.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
107.5 FM, WSFD.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 107.5 FM, WSFD-LP, Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. That was the WSFD version of April Love by Pat Boone.
Bit errors.
It was, it's so funny. It sounded like, remember the old 75s and 33 RPM records, that used to, occasionally they would skip, or your record got warped or whatever. I thought, well, that's what that sounded like. You are listening to WSFD 107.5 FM on your dial, and you are watching cable channel 15, WCPC. My name is Tina Gorman. I am your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board and our chief engineer, Pete Coles, who's really working hard at trying to get this all together here this morning.
Yeah, exactly.
But, it happens, Pete. All right, well, we have plenty to talk about anyway, because April is Autism Acceptance Month. So let's talk a little bit about that. The color of autism acceptance is blue. So lots of blue being worn by folks with who have autism or folks with friends, relatives with autism. But Autism Acceptance Month, previously named Autism Awareness Month in April, aims to celebrate and promote acceptance for the condition that occurs in 1 in every 54 children as of 2020 in the United States. So that was the last stat that we have. Autism is a complex developmental condition affecting the person's ability to interact, communicate, and progress, but not one but many subtypes. First held in the year 1972 by the Autism Society, Autism Acceptance Month emphasizes the need for public awareness to promote acceptance, celebrate the differences, and be more inclusive towards individuals with autism. Every April, the Autism Society works to build an inclusive community where individuals with autism are embraced and supported to achieve the highest quality of life possible. The Autism Society was founded in 1965 by Bernard Rimland and remains one of the few grassroots organizations in the autistic community. Driven by the fact that autism is the fastest growing developmental disability in the world, the Autism Society hosted one of its first nationwide efforts of an awareness campaign called National Autistic Children's Week way back in 1972, which subsequently evolved into the Autism Awareness Month earmarked in April. In 2021, Autism Awareness Month was renamed Autism Acceptance Month to foster acceptance and ignite change. The Autism Society deeply understands the need to foster awareness and acceptance to ignite change and a healthier lifestyle through improved opportunities for people with autism. It works every day to improve the lives of affected individuals and families. The organization caters to more than 600,000 people living under the autism onslaught, using tools like community partnerships with organizations, digital and print resources, along with events and referrals to spark empathy and inclusivity in the general public. Besides educating masses for better systems-wide change and acceptance, their affiliate program stretches across more than 75 networks and advocates for exclusive services for the autistic community. So what exactly is autism? Well, autism spectrum disorder, which is what it's called now, is a brain developmental disorder caused by genetic mutation and sometimes by environmental triggers. The common signs of autism, they're vast, and the degrees are all over the map. But generally, avoidance of eye contact, persistent preference for solitude, difficulty understanding other people's feelings, delayed language development, persistent repetition of words or phrases, resistance to minor changes in routine or surroundings, restricted interests. So sometimes they have one or two interests and they're all in, but not a lot of other outside interests. Sometimes things like repetitive behaviors for people who are on the more involved side of the autism spectrum, like flapping or rocking or spinning. Unusual or intense reactions to sounds, smells, tastes, textures, lights, and or colors. The blue forget-me-not flower represents autism to raise awareness. And with the autism diagnosis rate increasing fast, we take these 30 days in April to celebrate the differences of, learn more about, and empower individuals with autism. So, and I have to say that I've learned a lot about autism in the last several years. Mary Lou Najalski, who used to be our program director, her son Nick Najalski, has autism. So we've learned a lot through both Mary Lou and Nick. And Mary Lou, during the month of April, wore blue every single day, had blue nail polish, a little blue streak in her hair somewhere. Did it every year as just, kind of a reminder. But I learned a lot from them, and I have a neighbor across the street who just turned, I think she's about 6 now, more involved than Nick is. And so I'm learning from her family and her parents and her siblings, how best to work with her, because she'll come over. She likes to interact with Charlie, and we encourage that. And so, I would really suggest that people take the time to learn a little bit about this. We're hearing so much more about the autism spectrum because, there are people that are on one end of the spectrum that you're kind of going, is that somebody who might have that diagnosis? Yeah. Because it's so mild, you wouldn't, there are a few of those little things that I talked about. We
used to call those people quirky.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Pete. We did. Yeah, we did. Or what was the other one that we used? Not extravagant. There's another term for that. But yeah, you're right. Sort of quirky. And then
they just had idiosyncrasies.
Yes, exactly. And then of course there's the complete other opposite end of the spectrum, which are people that are incredibly involved and just language. There may or may not be any language, lots of repetitive movement, really resistant to any kind of change. And I can remember Mary Lou just schooling me on raising Nick and some of the things that she had to do with getting him ready for school in the morning and, things that we kind of take for granted, it's like, okay, do this, do that. But because everything had to be a routine, it couldn't, be different than it was the day before, and even clothing and outfits. And a lot of it has to do with how things feel. If it's just not right, it just can throw somebody into a tizzy. So it's really important to learn about that because it's hard to accept someone when you don't understand what they're going through. So I would suggest that you get a little bit of information on that and begin to understand what other people are going through. Today is also, or I'm sorry, not today, April is also National Parkinson's Disease Awareness Month. And I also want to spend a couple minutes talking about Parkinson's disease. And there's a reason for that, which I'll explain in just a minute. An estimated 1 million people in the United States and more than 6 million people worldwide are affected by Parkinson's disease. There's no simple way to deal with the life-changing event of a Parkinson's diagnosis. The good news is that most people find acceptance and quality of life after the initial adjustment period. Parkinson's disease occurs when brain cells that make dopamine, a chemical that coordinates movement, stop working or die. Because Parkinson's disease can cause tremor, slowness, stiffness, and walking and balance problems, it's called a movement disorder. But there are other issues for people with Parkinson's. For instance, constipation, depression, memory problems, and other non-movement symptoms can also be part of Parkinson's. It's a lifelong and progressive disease, which means that symptoms slowly worsen over time. And the trick with Parkinson's is to try and keep those symptoms, that slow progression, as slow as possible. That's really the goal here, because there's no cure for Parkinson's, at least not right now. The experience of living with Parkinson's over the course of a lifetime is unique to each person. Symptoms and progression vary from person to person. Researchers believe that in most people, Parkinson's is caused by a combination of environmental and genetic factors. And the reason that they think that, the genetic piece is, that's a little bit more obvious, but the environmental is because they found certain pockets of certain geographic areas in the country have a higher incidence of Parkinson's. So then they kind of were looking at, well, what is it in that region? And there are a lot of theories out there about that. Certain environmental exposures, such as pesticides and head injury, are associated with an increased risk of Parkinson's disease. Aging is the greatest risk factor for Parkinson's, and the average age at diagnosis is 60. Still, some people get PD at 40 or younger. Men are diagnosed with Parkinson's at a higher rate than women, and whites more than other races. The symptoms of Parkinson's and their degree of severity are different for every person. The three cardinal movement or motor symptoms are slowness of movement, called bradykinesia, stiffness or rigidity, and resting tremor. And a lot of people who are initially diagnosed with Parkinson's, I think most people think that tremor is the first symptom we see. It's generally not. The first symptom we generally see is bradykinesia. It's that slowness of movement. And you'll eventually, sometimes people will get into what they call the Parkinson shuffle, because their balance is off, the movement is slow, and every movement takes so much effort that they end up sort of shuffling their feet. Some people also have walking problems and difficulty with balance and coordination. Medications are available to lessen Parkinson's movement or motor and non-motor symptoms, making it possible for people to lead fulfilling and productive lives for many years. There are also surgical interventions, such as deep brain stimulation and focused ultrasound, which may be an option for certain symptoms in certain people. Not everyone with Parkinson's is a good candidate for one of those surgical procedures, but some people are, and they've had a lot of success with those. Before the pandemic, we actually had someone on the show who had a gym. It was a gym up in Southampton, and it was exclusively.
East Hampton, I think.
Nope.
Or was it?
Nope,
It was
Southampton.
Right.
It was Southampton. It was in, I can see it.
I know what
it
you're
was,
talking about.
Yep. And it was exclusively for people with Parkinson's disease. And the founders of that, I believe it was a husband and wife team, but I think it was he who had it was a parent who had Parkinson's, and he was a physical therapist by trade. So he was trying to come up with programs for, I want to say it was his mom, which is unusual. It's more common in men than women, but women have it too. And he started this gym. It was an entire gym, and the whole gym was just for people with Parkinson's disease. So I went up there because one of the reporters for the Westfield News kind of clued me in on it. She said, you have to see this place. She had done a story on it. So I went up there for an afternoon, and it was amazing. Well, anyway, unfortunately, that gym did not survive the pandemic. And as a lot of, programs closed down during the pandemic, not knowing what was going to happen, they closed. And there was a real gap there because there were a lot of people that were using that program. So Michelle Urbanski at the YMCA and Andrea Allard at the YMCA made the decision to bring a Parkinson's program to the Y. Now, you can't just make that decision and then next week say, okay, great, well, we have a program for Parkinson's. Michelle had to go through. Michelle was the one who decided to run the program. So she went through extensive training. I mean, she has lots of training on the physical fitness side, but not specific to Parkinson's disease. So she went through a short-term but super intense training to start that program. And the program at the Y started, I want to say now it's been about 3 years. And one of the things that Michelle and I had talked about was also starting a support group. So to kind of in conjunction with the physical fitness program that she's running. Well, that is going to come to fruition shortly. Because I met with Michelle last month and we said, okay, her program is gangbusters right now. It started out slowly, but over the years it has really developed. She's got a following. I believe that they're meeting twice a week, Mondays and Fridays. So if you're interested in that or you know somebody who might benefit from that program, just give them a call at the YMCA and you can get the information about it. When we talked, Michelle and I, really more Michelle, because she's really working with both the folks with Parkinson's as well as a little bit with their families. And our initial thought was that the support group would be for both. But Michelle said, I think the people with Parkinson's are actually doing really well in her program. It's the caregivers, mostly spouses, in some cases children, or siblings, but mostly spouses who really need the support and, references and things like that. So I am going to start this summer a support group for caregivers of folks with Parkinson's disease. I'm calling it Parkinson Partners. And it will be primarily support group, not as much an educational group, but more of a support group where people can, just share ideas and so forth. I will run it similarly to the way I run my side-by-side group and my Stand By Me group. So I'm the facilitator and, the group really runs itself. So that will be coming up. So stay tuned for lots more information as that unfolds. I can already tell you it's going to be the second Friday of the month, and I'm going to run that group at the same time on Friday from 11 to 12 that Michelle is running her group for the folks with Parkinson's. So it'll be an opportunity while they're there at the Y. Spouses, caregivers, whomever can come over to the senior center. We'll do the support group. So that's the plan. I'll keep everyone in tuned as things unfold. And I believe I will be starting that group it'll either be July or August, but I'm really shooting for July. So stay tuned. It is 6:33. You are listening to WSFD 107.5 FM on your dial and WCPC cable channel 15. In honor of Autism Acceptance Month, I mentioned that the color of autism is blue, Autism Awareness and Acceptance. So we're going to listen to the Marcells singing Blue Moon. We'll be back.
Blue moon. Dip 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 moon 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 blue moon. Dip 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 moon 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 blue moon. Dip 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 bomb 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 dang 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 ding it on blue moon. You saw me standing alone without a dream in my heart, without a love of my own. Dang 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 ding it on blue moon. You knew just what I was there for. You heard me saying a prayer for someone I really could care for. And then there suddenly appeared before me dang 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 ding and on ding blue. Bomb dang 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 ding and on ding blue. Dang 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 ding and on ding blue moon.
Underwriting for community radio is provided by the YMCA of Greater Westfield. Every day, the YMCA strengthens the community through programs and services focused on youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility. For all the Y's many programs and services, visit us on the web at www.westfieldymca.org. The YMCA, 67 Court Street in downtown Westfield. We're more than a gym. We're a cause.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio.
107.5 FM WSFD. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 107.5 FM WSFD-LP Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:37. You are listening to WSFD 107.5 FM on your dial, and you're watching Cable Channel 15, WCPC. My name is Tina Gorman. I am your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board and our chief engineer, Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
So April, in addition to being Autism Acceptance Month and Parkinson's Awareness Month, is also Stress Awareness Month. And of course, we spent a lot of time over the last dozen years or so that we've been doing this show, talking about how challenging stress can be for all of us. So let's spend a few minutes discussing that. It's never, one of those topics that we're just going to keep coming back to because it seems that it just complicates people's lives and also compromises people's physical and mental health. So let's bring attention to the negative impact of stress. Managing stress is an essential component of a healthy lifestyle. Knowing how to manage stress can improve mental and physical well-being, as well as minimize health-related issues. Stress is unavoidable, so it's important to understand stress and how we can manage it. While stress can be beneficial, too much of it can be harmful. When the body senses a threat or a stressor, it goes on high alert, and once the threat passes, the body quickly recovers. At least that's the way it's supposed to work. Stressors can include health matters. It might include work, money, family issues, racism or gender inequality, and regular daily hassles. With unrelenting or too many stressors, your body might be on a constant state of high alert, leading to poor concentration, bad moods, professional burnout, and mental and physical health problems. When stress becomes chronic, the body cannot return to normal functioning. Chronic stress can be linked with health conditions such as heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, depression, and anxiety. So it's critical to recognize what stress and anxiety look like. Here are a few tips to help recognize stressors that may be affecting your health and also ways that you can build some resilience. So first of all, recognize and counter signs of stress. Your body sends signals that say, I'm stressed out. These can include difficulty concentrating, headaches, cold hands, tight muscles, a nervous stomach, clenched teeth, feeling on edge, fidgety, irritable, or withdrawn. Knowing how your body communicates can help you deal with stressful moments. Most people don't have all of those symptoms, but a lot of people have one or two that, key in. For me, it's stomach. I mean, it's like when I'm stressed out, I can lose like 5 pounds in, 5 days. And that's my signal. It's like, okay, wait a minute. Let's take a step back and see what's going on. So to try to get some action steps to counter those effects. So deep breathing, stretching, going for a walk, maybe writing down your thoughts, maybe some journaling, or taking quiet time to focus. All of those activities can help induce relaxation and reduce tension. Take time for yourself. Make taking care of yourself a daily routine. I love the fact, Pete, that you said, you had texted me this, I'm here, I'm out in the Indianapolis area, I'm staying at a hotel with a pool. I'm going for it, like things didn't exactly work out the way we thought with the Final Four thing. So I'm going to take advantage of this. I'm going to go visit a relative.
Yep.
That was taking time for yourself and super important. That also, by the way, may require saying no to requests or prioritizing yourself along with your responsibilities. So start with small changes in your routine to help build resilience to stressful circumstances. Work in time to exercise, eat healthy foods, participate in relaxing activities, and sleep. So one of my things for reducing stress, which I started doing right at the senior center, because I figure I have to incorporate some of this into my work life, at least once a week, I have breakfast with some of my colleagues. We just we're doing breakfast sandwiches on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we have Friday morning breakfast. So that gives me 3 opportunities a week. I don't usually do it all 3 because I'm not always in early enough in the morning.
Sure.
But, I get together for breakfast with Lynn Hills, our senior benefits coordinator, Kathy Millis, one of our volunteers. Sometimes Carol Shannon joins us, our principal clerk. It's just a nice half an hour, 20 minutes, whatever, with the blessing of our boss, Mike Squindo, who loves seeing us all together. Sometimes we talk shop, and sometimes we just talk about, our grandchildren and funny stories and so forth. But it's taking time for yourself. It may include yoga or meditation. That can be important when you're feeling stressed. Exercise, movement, activity. Also, take time to notice the good minutes in each day or to do something that you enjoy, such as reading a book or listening to music, which can be a way to shift your attention and focus on the positive rather than the negative. And again, none of these things have to be forever. If you do, 15 or 20 minutes, I know, and I've used this example before, but, James Jordan, he'll take a walk around the parking lot, periodically. You'll see him kind of meandering around outside. That's just just to kind of clear his head.
Do a reset.
Yeah, do a reset. I like that, Pete. That is a great saying. Do a reset. I like that. Try some new routines, from scheduling bath and bedtimes to blocking off time to plan and prioritize tasks. Additional structure can provide a daily framework that allows you to attune to your body's signals. Then you can take steps to potentially manage stress earlier than you once did. One of my routines that I've done this for years, but now it's definitely a focus, is my first thing in the morning, stretches and just kind of clearing my head and some core body work and so forth. It takes about 45 minutes. And you know what? I do it 6 days. Gary asked me the other day, he goes, how often do you do that? I said 6 days a week. And it requires me getting up earlier. The only day I don't do it is Wednesdays. And for the last 2 months, I've done it every day except Wednesdays. If you look at my calendar, because I keep a calendar, make a little mark, and it's like, but it's really helpful. It actually, as I'm getting older, it just helps me to move better, to be honest with you. Fewer headaches. And even Charlie knows, I can't play right now. It's my exercise time. If you want, and I'll say to her, if you want to come up, I have a little yoga mat for her. See, if you want to come up and do them with me, come on up. But I won't be down to play until I'm done with this. Stay connected and make new friends. So stay in touch with family, friends, and groups in your life. Technology certainly makes it easier than ever to do that. We have FaceTime and we have Zooming and, calling and texting. Having a person to talk with can be reassuring and calming. See problems through a different lens. Experts call changing the way we think about and respond to stress, they call that reframing. So view sitting in traffic or around the house as an opportunity to enjoy music, podcasts, or pleasant views. I was in the worst traffic jam that I've ever been in. Where was I coming home from? It was within the last year, and I was on the Mass Pike. I must have been coming home from Maine. That's what it was. I was coming home from Maine when I went to visit my brothers up in Maine in September.
Yep.
And that's when there was this huge, I don't know, there was some kind of accident and whatever. We were backed up. It was more than a 2-hour delay. We all literally got out of our cars and we started, just chit-chatting and getting to know each other. And, it was just because Otherwise, you're sitting there getting really upset, getting really frustrated and saying, I have things to do and I can't. Well, there's nothing you can do. You're in trap. There's no place to go. So we made the best of it. So see problems through a different lens. Reduce anger in response to rude or aggressive behavior by imagining what might be happening in that person's life. And that's hard for us to do, but I will often feel like, if somebody's coming at me for something, including at work, sometimes it's at home, sometimes it's, on the street, I always sort of think, boy, they must be having a really bad day. And sometimes that's exactly what it is. It's not that they're a bad person. They just had a crummy morning or something really terrible happened. So keeping situations in perspective is an important way to boost stress resilience. If you practice reframing, you'll get better at it over time. Seek help with problems, folks. Many people experience the same day-to-day strains related to caregiving, relationships, health, work, and money. Look to friends and family as appropriate or other trusted individuals or resources for tips and information. And certainly talk to a health professional if stress is affecting your well-being, especially your physical health or your mental health, and you just really can't manage the stress that you're experiencing. Certainly, seek the help of professionals if that's the case. All right, you are listening to WSFD 107.5 on your dial, and you are watching cable channel 15, WCPC. So we are going to listen to Billy Joel in honor of Stress Awareness Month, singing Pressure. We'll be back.
You have to learn to pace yourself. Pressure, you're just like everybody else. Pressure, you've only had to run so far, so good. But you will come to a place where the only thing you feel are loaded guns in your face. You'll have to deal with pressure. You used to call me paranoid. Pressure, but even you cannot avoid pressure. You turn the tap dance into your crusade. Now here you are with your faith and your Peter Pan advice. You have no scars on your face and you cannot handle pressure. Does it mean? I'll tell you what it means. Pressure. Pressure. Don't ask for help, you're all alone. Pressure. You'll have to answer to your own. Pressure. I'm sure you have some cosmic rationale. But here you are in the ninth, 2 men out and 3 men on nowhere to look but inside, where we all respond to pressure.
Underwriting for the community programming is provided by the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield, serving the youth of the Whip City and surrounding communities since 1969. For more information on the Great Futures Club for ages 3 to 5, happening weekdays, and the Club Teen Center for ages 11 and older, weekdays from 6:30 till 8 p.m., go online at bcgwestfield.org or visit the club at 28 West Silver Street. The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield. Great futures start here.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio.
107.5 FM WSFD. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 107.5 FM WSFD-LP Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:53. You are listening to WSFD 107.5 FM on your dial, and you are watching Cable Channel 15 WCPC. My name is Tina Gorman. I am your Wake Up Wednesday host. I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board and our chief engineer, Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
So we have a lot happening at the Senior Center this month, so I want to go through some of the programs that are coming up. Most of them obviously for Westfield seniors, but we also have some that are open to the public, so feel free. This Friday, so day after tomorrow, we actually have 2 back-to-back breakfast bonuses this month. So this Friday, our Friday breakfast bonus is called Spring Fling, which if I should have really named it Spring Fling Sing, because we are going to have the Westfield Middle School Chorus coming to perform an upbeat collection of choral pieces. They will perform Friday from 8:45 to 9:30. We serve breakfast at 9 o'clock. So as you're coming in, they'll be singing. There are a bunch of them. They came and performed during the holidays, and our seniors loved them and wanted them back. So back by popular demand is the Westfield Middle School Chorus under the direction of Carrie Cipolletta. So you just please remember there's no extra charge or anything for this, but you do have to reserve breakfast, as you do with all of our meals, and that includes the new Tuesday, Thursday breakfast sandwich. So you have to reserve at least 24 hours in advance, so by noon of the day before. So we already have a big crowd coming Friday, but we do have some slots available. So if you're interested in this Friday's breakfast bonus, please sign up. I would suggest that you sign up today, because I think maybe after today there won't be any slots left open. So yes, join me on Friday, because I will be there at that. And Superintendent Zeporowski will be there, so it's going to be wonderful. Monday, April 13th, so that's coming up next week from 9:30 to 11:30, Donna Carmel will be facilitating an art therapy group. If you are overwhelmed, if you are stressed, we just talked about stress and one of the ways to relieve it. Are you burdened with responsibilities? So maybe some therapeutic watercolor painting. And this is really, you do not have to be an artist. Let me just be very clear about that. You do not have to be an artist to participate in this program. It's really more about the process and much less about whatever the finished product is. So the whole idea is that this is therapeutic. It's not an art class. This is just sort of getting that stress out, being in a calm environment. You'll be working on a tropical scene. You'll be smelling coconut and coconut oil. It's really going to be great. We do require advance registration. I know that class is starting to fill up because we had some people yesterday who were asking about it, who signed up for it. So this is thanks to a grant from the Westfield Cultural Council, which is supported by the Massachusetts Cultural Council. So there's no charge for the session, and all of the supplies will be provided. So that's why, and the number of slots is limited because everything's provided. So if you are interested, again, it's coming up on Monday from 9:30 to 11:30. Donna had done another one last month. You do not have to do this one. You didn't have to do the one last month. It's not a two-parter. It's just that she's doing 2 separate sessions. So by all means, come join us. Next Wednesday, which is April 15th, Lynn Hills is going to conduct her first Rise and Shine Coffee Hour. Lynn is our Senior Benefits Coordinator. So Lynn handles all of the Medicare, Medicare open enrollment, Medicare Advantage plans, all those kinds of health insurance guidance, and kind of walking you through the process. But she also handles fuel assistance applications. She helps with SNAP applications, the food program. She coordinates the monthly food distribution, the brown bag program. So Lynn is going to be doing a monthly coffee hour where she will just be there to answer questions, kind of generic questions. She's getting a lot of questions now, from the baby boomers. I'm going to be retiring in 6 months. What do I need to do? Do I need to do anything ahead of time? What's going to happen with my health insurance? Who's going to pay for that? What are my options? So those kinds of questions, she'll be answering. Social Security benefits, she'll be answering some questions about that. So this is just kind of a general, it's not like a presentation, but it's kind of an informal, informational. So
a Q&A session.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of Q&A. She got the idea from someone else who's been doing it, I think, like with veterans. And she thought, well, that would be a great idea. So we're going to try it. So that's going to be the third Wednesday of the month, which in April will be April 15th next week, 8:30 to 9:30. You don't have to sign up or anything in advance. We charge 50 cents at the senior center for coffee. So you pay at the greeter's desk, give them your 50 cents, they'll give you a coffee cup. And we always have some nice snackies to go with all that. And next Thursday, I think this is going to be fabulous. And this one is completely open to the public. Westfield Gas and Electric will be at the Senior Center, Whip City Fiber. They're going to do a Whip City Fiber streaming workshop Thursday, April 16th from 1 to 2:30 in the Great Room. We're doing it in the Great Room because I don't care if there are like 100 people there. So they're going to talk about popular streaming platforms, tips for local and sports channels, smart TVs and devices, troubleshooting common issues. There will be plenty of times for questions and answers. I think this is really going to be great, and I think that people who have the Whip City Fiber streaming should definitely attend. There's no pre-registration. Just come on in Thursday, 1 to 2:30. All are welcome. You do not have to be a senior. You do not have to be a member of the Senior Center. Come on in and get that information from Whip City Fiber. Next Friday, this is the second in our back-to-back Friday bonuses. We are going to have the Westfield High School Jazz Combo Band at the Senior Center, April 17th from 8:30 to 9:30. They will be performing. Again, breakfast will be served at 9 o'clock. Again, Superintendent Zaporowski will be in attendance, as will I. So please join us. You will enjoy live entertainment while you settle in for a delicious breakfast. Again, make your reservation early. Those seats are starting to fill up because, now people can sign up a month in advance. So they're doing the whole month. So please join us on Friday the 17th for the Jazz Combo. Now, some other planning that you need to do. Saturday, April 18th is the shredding event through CFS Dollars for Scholars. We are the host site, which means it's happening in our parking lot. So that will be from 9 to 11. Let me get my Dollars for Scholars thing here, my little cheat sheet. 9 to 11, Saturday, April 18, rain or shine in the Senior Center parking lot. Please remember to enter through the Murphy Circle entrance, which is the far entrance. Everything else is going to be coned off, and I will be at the exit, directing people. Bring your boxes of documents to be shredded and recycled. It's a $5 donation per box that goes to CSF Westfield Dollars for Scholars. Those scholarships are kept local. Those are all for Westfield students. You do have a limit of 3 boxes, but I like to give people lots of notice on this one. We've already gotten a ton of We started getting phone calls like back in January. Are you doing the shredding event? So the answer is yeah. Oh yeah, we do. We have, yep. So get your boxes ready. I know we have staff members that are getting their boxes ready. Cause if anything with your name, your address, your social security number, your Medicare number, your bank account numbers, any of those documents that you need to get rid of, those you want shredded. So, don't put those in the recycle bin, please. All right, so that's on Saturday the 18th. The following Saturday, which is April 25th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. There's a lot happening that Saturday, and we're going to talk more about that with our guests because that's also Earth Day cleanup. We are also going to be doing that Senior Safety Saturday at the Senior Center, so you can really go all over town and get all your things done. We'll be doing the Westfield Police Department. We'll be at the Senior Center. This is all parking lot, curbside, National Drug Take Back Day. So start gathering. While you're gathering your stuff to be shredded, start gathering those old medications, pet medications, over-the-counter medications. Clean out the medicine cabinet, clean out the shelf in your bathroom closet, clean out your office drawers, which I discovered when I went to take some extra strength Tylenol and realized that the bottle that I had I brought it over from the old senior center. That's how old it was. It was it expired in 2010 or some ridiculous thing. Yeah, I looked at it, I went, oh my gosh, what am I doing with this? All right, into my drug take back pile. All right, so that's happening. And the same day, the Westfield Fire Department will also be in the parking lot. They'll be doing fire prevention and falls prevention. We'll have some items that we're giving away. We'll have File of Life that we're giving away. We'll have informational flyers. So all of that in the Senior Center parking lot on the 25th. So that's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. There's more in the newsletter on the drug take back about what can and cannot be brought. And we'll go over that more as we get closer to that date. But just start getting those. By the way, vitamins, supplements, all of that stuff. You can start getting all of that stuff. And then, of course, at the end of the month, we have, just as a little sneak preview, we have Jen DeFune doing her Diabetes Dialogue Support and Education Group. And this month, her topic, and she's going to do it on air too, so she'll be doing the on-air topic and the group topic is going to be the same. Dining out challenges. And that can be really hard for people when they're trying to follow, a diabetic eating plan. How do you do that when your neighbors invited you over for dinner or to a barbecue, or you're going out to a restaurant, you're celebrating someone's birthday? So Jen's going to go through all that. So that's the last Tuesday of the month. So we'll talk more about that. And then we're super excited. So mark this on your calendar and sign up for this, because you can sign up for this right now. We're doing a lunch and learn on Wednesday, April 29th. So it's the very end of the month. We are calling it Meet the Chief. You will be meeting our incoming fire chief, Eric Bishop, who will be starting mid-April. Current Chief Pat Egloff will be retiring. His last day is next Friday, April 17th. And Eric will be starting that Monday, the following Monday. So he's going to be doing a lunch and learn on Wednesday, April 29th. The menu is shepherd's pie. At 11:45 we'll serve, and then Eric's going to present from noon to about 12:25. It'll be about a 25-minute or so, and then we'll have some question and answer time. And then after the presentation, we'll be serving ice cream sundaes for dessert. So we do expect to sell out for that one. That one is filling up fast, and you can sign up for that right now. You can sign up for it today at the Senior Center. Just come on down or give us a call and tell us that you want to sign up for the luncheon. It's called Lunch and Learn. It's Meet the Chief. So that'll be happening at the end of the month. And finally, before we go to our top of the hour break, which I know I'm late for, Westfield Council on Aging presents this month. Harry Rock interviewed Jennifer Harnish and Eleanor Strail from the Mass Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired on low vision challenges, low tech solutions. That is airing every Tuesday and Thursday on Channel 15. You can live stream it, and you can also watch it on YouTube. Pete has all of those sessions bundled on YouTube, so you can do that as well. And again, all of the information for all of these things that I discussed is in our newsletter. You are listening to WSFD 107.5 FM on your dial. You are watching cable channel 15, WCPC. We're going to take our top of the hour break, and when we come back, we have Joe DeFune joining us from the Conservation Commission. We'll be back.
I ain't
Support for the community programming provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio.
107.5 FM WSFD. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 107.5 FM WSFD-LP Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:09. You are listening to WSFD 107.5 FM on your dial, and you are watching Cable Channel 15, WCPC. My name is Tina Gorman. I am your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with, of course, the chairman of the board and our chief engineer, Pete Coles, and our guest this morning is Joe Jafune. And if you recognize that name, it's because Joe's wife is Jen Jafune. Jen runs our diabetes support and education group at the Senior Center and is also a regular guest on this program for her Food for Thought segment on the last Wednesday of every month. But Joe has a completely different role. So we're not talking about food today, Joe.
Okay.
We're talking about the Conservation Commission, which I'm really happy that you reached out and said, you know, can we do this? Because I really knew basically once I started to read about it, I went online, I checked, the city website, and then I read the information that you gave me. And I'm learning a lot, and I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot more as you sort of fill in those gaps. So, first of all, I have to take this off because I was looking for something appropriate to wear, and so I found this T-shirt. This is my Stanley Park T-shirt, but it has trees on it. So this is my nod to the Conservation Commission.
Well played.
I know. No, and by the way, it's green. I have these are from the Stanley Run Roll and Stroll, and but they come in all different colors. But I said, and you know what? I put this T-shirt on this morning, and I said, wow, this is really nice. I don't even think I wore this one yet. I mean, I've got like 5. I mean, every year I'm on the committee for the thing, so I don't, so I have a zillion of them. And I think I usually wear the navy blue one. But anyway, I'm very green today. And I've got trees on my shirt.
Eco-friendly.
Yeah, eco-friendly. So I'm feeling pretty good about all that.
There you go.
All right, so Joe, we're going to start before we take our first break, which is coming up because I'm always behind schedule here. But we're going to start with just a little bit about your background information. And you've been on the show before because you've been on the show when you did the rail trail. So
I did, yeah.
So kind of talk us through a little bit about your background and how did you end up on the Conservation Commission? Because you are now chair of that commission for the city.
I am, yeah. Okay. And so my background in Westfield, I'm a Westfield resident for 34 years now.
Okay, lots of years.
And, raised our kids, all went through public school here. And always looking for something to kind of give back to the community.
Okay.
And kind of age appropriate stuff.
Yes.
Coach the kids when they were doing, their youth sports and doing all that sort of thing. Got involved with the Friends of the Columbia Greenway Rail Trail and helped get the rail trail established. That group is still going strong and doing good work in the community. The Conservation Commission I kind of fell into by accident, always looking for things. And I was approached by a gentleman that I worked with who had been on the commission for a number of years.
Okay. And
he was looking to retire, and he knew that the spot needed to be filled, and thought it might be something that I would be interested in, and I was. And I'd never heard about it, didn't know anything about it, so I'm only a couple years ahead of you in terms of learning all this information.
Well, that's great. So we're learning together.
Yeah, and on my second meeting there, the chair also retired.
Well, I was just going to say that. I'm thinking, wait a minute, Joe. So we're learning together, but how did you end up as chair?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So it was one of those, when they looked for volunteers, I didn't step backwards fast enough.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. Well, the other way that you end up as chair is if you, get up to go to use the restroom.
That happens.
Or you got sick and you weren't
at a meeting.
Yes, if you miss a meeting. You got sick, you weren't at that meeting, and suddenly you come back and you're chairing something.
You come back and you have a gavel.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Yeah, that's what it was. So that was and we lost a lot of experience in those two gentlemen that retired. They'd been.
How many members are on the commission?
So it's a 7-member commission. It's all Westfield residents, and we're made up of a good variety of people. We have 3 members that work for the university. We have myself as a small business owner in town. I own a manufacturing company in Westfield.
Okay.
And we have another small business owner who owns a landscaping company. And then we have 2 other business people that are in Westfield as well.
Okay.
And so a variety of backgrounds, and it's all volunteers. It's all people that have usually they don't go looking for it. They're approached by someone that says, hey, would you be interested in doing this? And you have to be sponsored by a member of city council, and then you're appointed. And it's a 3-year term. Okay. And they're people that are generally trying to do good things in the community, trying to find ways to give back to their community. And this is an important thing. It really is.
Yeah, for sure. Again. And do you feel like so far, and we'll get into what the commission does in just a few minutes and the purpose and how it was set up in the history.
Yeah.
Do you feel that your work, because you did a lot of work on the Columbia Greenway rail trail, when that was still sort of a vision.
Yep.
Do you feel like your work with that is helping you with your work on the commission, or do they not overlap?
No, I do because I think that one of the things about the commission, and again we'll get into the details of it, is that we have a number of different charters, and not a lot of people really know what it is we do. So what I'm trying to do is establish, and this is the first step of it, is establish some sort of outreach program so that we can have more citizens involved and understand what it is, because the only way we're going to get things done in the city is if we have community input. And I learned that from the Rail Trail group. When I first started with that in 2009, there was big opposition to getting the Columbia Greenway in Westfield at all. There was, a lot of neighborhood opposition, and I ended up getting involved in it because I had lived in an area where there was a lot of converted rail trails. And it was a very popular thing, and it was a really nice thing for getting around town and things like that.
Yeah.
And so I was tasked with public speaking and going out and outreach and having community, neighborhood meetings and stuff like that. And very slowly the needle started to tip. And once we got past that tipping point, it was more like, why don't we have this yet? Mm-hmm. And so those experiences and what I learned from that and how little it takes to get just enough people on board and really affect change is what I'm trying to do here, is try to get people to understand what it is we're doing, what it is we're supposed to be doing, and trying to get more people involved to help us make our jobs easier and to make Westfield a better place in terms of our conservation lands.
Yeah. And, it really, as you were talking, Joe, it really made me realize that it's really all about education and when people are educated to understand something, you're much more likely to get them to accept it if they can say, oh, well, okay, now that I understand that makes a whole lot of sense.
That's really so true. And a lot of it is, you hear, and I'm learning an awful lot about the conservation commissions and wetland protections and all those sorts of things. And the first times you hear a lot of these things, for me especially, it's you hear it and you think, well, that's kind of dumb. Okay. And then you start looking into the reasons why, and you start to say, oh, okay, I see, I understand. So like you say, the education part of it, not formal education, just exposure education, where you start to say, okay, people have learned these lessons before. This is what they learned from those lessons. This is why this stuff is in place. And it kind of does make sense.
Right.
So, so getting more people to understand that and appreciate that is kind of my goal here. And I'm hopeful that I can get more members of the board right here to do more of this, because they all have a different story to tell. They have some really good background and experiences that they can bring to it.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you for all of that, and thank you for being here, because I think this is a great first step. We're all going to learn about. We're going to start right out. We're going to take a break in a minute, but when we come back, we're going to learn about sort of the history of conservation commissions. How did they even get started? What is their role in Massachusetts, and that's just interesting in and of itself. So I think when people realize and have an understanding of what the background is, they'll be able to appreciate now sort of where you are and what the commission is doing on a regular basis.
That's my hope. Yeah.
All right, it is 7:18. If you're just joining me, my guest this morning is Joe Jafune. Joe is chair of the Conservation Commission here for the city of Westfield. So we're talking all about the Conservation Commission and what they do and what their role is. So we're going to take a short break. So all of my songs, Joe, are all Conservation Commission songs. So you are listening to WSFD 107.5 FM on your dial. You are watching cable channel 15 WCPC. So our first song is called Pass It On Down by Alabama. And
Greater Westfield. serving the youth of the Whip City and surrounding communities since 1969. For more information on the Great Futures Club for ages 3 to 5, happening weekdays, and the Club Teen Center for ages 11 and older, weekdays from 6:30 till 8 p.m., go online at bcgwestfield.org or visit the club at 28 West Silver Street. The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield. Great futures start here.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
107.5 FM, WSFD.
I did it!
You're listening to 107.5 WSFD-LP, Westfield Community Radio in Westfield, Mass.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:24. You are indeed listening to WSFD 107.5 FM on your dial, and you are watching cable channel 15, WCPC. My name is Tina Gorman. I am your Wake Up Wednesday host, and my guest this morning is Joe Jafune. Joe is chair of the Westfield Conservation Commission. I'm wearing my green shirt with my trees just for Joe.
Nice.
So we talked a little bit about how you got involved in the Conservation Commission. And so how many years have you been doing this now?
I started in the fall of 23, so a little over 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, 2.5 years.
So you're still in your first term. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I filled a term that was expiring, and then I
Okay.
was reappointed in February, so I think I'm...
Okay, so you're technically in your second. Okay.
Yeah, technically, yeah.
All right. So, Joe, what exactly is the Conservation Commission? Why were they started in Massachusetts? When were they started in Massachusetts, and why? So give us a little historical background here.
Sure. They were established in the late 50s in Massachusetts, and the idea of it was at a time when there was an awakening about environmental issues.
Okay.
And, pollution was people were becoming more aware of it, Silent Spring and all that sort of thing. And so they were established originally to acquire lands to conserve and to develop open spaces for communities. And the idea was that it would be more community-based than state-based. And then in the 1970s, there was the passage of the Wetlands Protection Act, which was an act that was designed to protect the wetlands, both coastal and inland, that kind of filter our drinking water and supply our drinking water supply, or is part of our drinking water supply. And the idea of applying the conservation commissions to be the ones that enforce the Wetland Protection Act was that it would give an element of home rule, so that if there were communities, there's federal regulations, there's state regulations, and then if communities feel that those don't go far enough to protect the assets that they have, then they can go beyond that.
Okay.
And so that was the concept of it, is that the commissions were created so that there could be home rule, so that if people in the community said, hey, we don't like what you're doing at the state level, we don't like what you're doing at the federal level, we can do better, then they have the opportunity to do that. And of course, there's guidelines and guardrails set up around that. You can't kind of go crazy with it, but it's the idea of local control.
Okay, so I have two questions that dovetail off of that. So number one, does every community in Massachusetts, by law, by this state law, does every community have to have a conservation commission?
Don't have to.
Okay.
Every community can.
Okay.
But they don't have to.
They don't have to.
Yeah.
And then my other thing is, if communities can take the federal and then the state laws and make them even a little bit stricter, I would imagine, though, that they cannot make those state or federal laws looser. So in other words, okay, so they have to follow at least those as the bare minimum for standards.
Correct.
And then they can make those even stricter if they want to, based on whatever's going on in their community.
That's right.
Okay. And then, so they were started in the 50s and 60s. That's when all this started. So why would, I'm curious as to why a community, if you don't have to have a conservation commission, but you have to have somebody overseeing those federal and state guidelines. Is that the idea? Like, I guess my thought is, well, why would a community have them if they don't have to have them? Because it would just seem like it's more regulation that we have to deal with.
Yeah, I think it if you use Westfield as an example, there is a ton of open space. There's a ton of wetland, and we're a big community, square
Yes,
foot,
yes,
square miles,
yeah, square
wise,
miles,
right?
absolutely over 40.
And there's a continuing conflict between development and protection.
Gotcha.
And the idea of making sure that we, Westfield citizens, have the say over how that works is why you would want to have that at the local level.
Okay.
So that you're not being influenced, I guess, unduly by people outside of your community
Sure.
that are coming in and taking your resources
Gotcha.
and using them for purposes that maybe don't benefit the entire community.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. So now let's go back to, we talked about earlier, but now it's making a little bit more sense because you've given us this framework. So there are 7 commissioners in Westfield.
Yes. Yep.
They're appointed by, are they appointed by the mayor, approved
Yeah.
by city council?
Yes.
Okay. As
Yeah.
the other commissioners
Yep.
are.
Yep.
But Westfield also has a staff member.
We do.
Right?
We do. We
So
have.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah.
At all?
So the Wetlands Protection Act and the local ordinance that affects wetlands in Westfield is a lot. There's a lot to understand, and it's really difficult to have in a community our size. The volunteers have all, because we're a volunteer commission,
Right.
have all that knowledge and be able to apply those rules
Right.
correctly.
Right.
So we actually have an agent that works for us whose responsibility it is to understand the rules, apply the regs, advise the commission on what those rules and regs are so that we can make informed decisions when things come before us. Okay. And that agent is relatively new also.
Yeah.
He started in November, I believe, formally. His name is Nick Balick, and he works in City Hall.
Yep.
He works for the commission. So he's actually an employee of the city that reports to the commission.
Okay.
So a little bit convoluted maybe, but it gives us authority over that position.
Yep.
And Nick's a great guy, and he understands his role is to help people in Westfield apply correctly these rules and regulations so they don't get themselves in trouble. So one of the big challenges is that one of the big misconceptions and big challenges is that people feel that the commission is here to tell them they can't do stuff.
Yep.
And that's completely not the case. What we're here to do is tell them how to do stuff.
Yep. Okay.
So if they have land that, say, is bordering a wetland,
Okay.
there are certain rules and regulations about what you can and cannot do where, how close to
Yep,
it and
okay.
things like that.
Yep, of course.
And what you have to do to protect it while you're doing work on your property and things like that. That's really the key, is that people, where they get themselves into trouble is they don't want to be told no, they can't do it, but that's not
Right.
our role. Our role is to say how you do it, and they don't approach us first. They do something that involves damaging a resource area. Usually it's a neighbor that says something to it about it.
Sure, because
and
it's not like you're out patrolling the streets
no,
of
we're
Westfield.
not. We
trying to
absolutely
figure out-
100% are not.
Yeah,
That's not what we do.
Right, exactly.
And so they'll report it. Then we have to get involved. And
Right.
sometimes when we get involved after the fact, things can get expensive
Yes.
because there's remediation and
Yes.
things like that. Whereas what our role is and what Nick's role is for homeowners and businesses to contact him ahead of time and say, okay, what do I have to do this project? And then they can get advice on how you do the project. There's almost never a case that a project is said, no, you can't do this project. It's, you can do this project, and this is how you have to do it within the rules and regulations, and most importantly, to protect the resource, because that's the most important thing. That's what we're tasked with doing, is protecting the natural resource, and that's the most important thing to us.
And so now, Joe, I want to come back to those 7 commissioners that you mentioned. So now you've got, let's kind of do the breakdown before we take our next break about where you've got some small business people, you've got some people from the university. Go through that again now, because now this is all, I think this will help to again, put a perspective.
Sure. We have 3 members that are employees of the university.
And now, are they employees of the university in a certain department or?
They're all professors.
Okay. All
but
right. But we don't know.
Honestly don't know.
Okay, I'm thinking biology, environmental science,
Yes,
engineering,
maybe.
whatever. Okay. All right. So we'll find that out.
They're going to have to come here themselves.
Well, I would love to have them come here. They
I
can
would
all
love
come
for
at
you
the
to
same
have them do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have 3 from the university.
3 from the university. We have one that owns basically a landscaping business.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
And then 2 business people.
Yep.
And myself.
Okay.
Small business owner also.
Okay. So these are people that have,
Just average Joes.
Right,
to use
who
the
have
term,
done,
right?
who have done projects and, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And so, and I think that's really important because I think sometimes people hear it's like, it's a commission. It's it's like a commission that's going to tell me that I can't do what I want to do.
Yeah, there's a conception.
Yeah. Sure.
And I think it's a misconception of, like a bunch of tree hugging nuts.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And that's really not it. That's not what it's about. It's
Okay.
really not.
Okay.
All
right. So you know what? We're going to take a short break. When we come back, you have a great sort of proverbial story that you're going to share. And I love this because I think it really gives people a clear picture of what you've been saying. So let's take a break. It is 7:34. You are listening to WSFD 107.5 FM on your dial. You are watching cable channel 15, WCPC. And we all know this one. The lyrics are by Woody Guthrie. This land is your land. This land is my land. But I really like this version of the story. The song. It is done by Elizabeth Mitchell. We will be back.
This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I was walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. I've roamed and rambled, and I followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, and all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. When the sun came shining and I was strolling, and the wheat fields waving, and the dust clouds rolling, and the fog was lifting, a voice was chanting. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking, I saw a sign there, and on the sign it said no trespassing. But on the other side, it didn't say nothing. That side was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. In the shadow of the steeple, I saw my people. By the relief office, I've seen my people. As they stood there hungry, I stood there asking, is this land made for you and me? Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking that freedom highway. Nobody living can ever make me turn back. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me.
Support for community programming provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. Visit bettsplumbing.com or 14 Coleman Avenue, Westfield. Public welcome.
Want to know what's trending at Westfield Technical Academy? Join host Kevin Daly and Carol Groom to find out all things Tiger. Tiger Talk, Thursdays at 8 a.m. 107.5 FM WSFD. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 107.5 FM WSFD-LP Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:39. You are listening to WSFD 107.5 FM on your dial, and you are watching cable channel 15 WCPC. My name is Tina Gorman. I am your Wake Up Wednesday host. My guest this morning is Joe Jaffoon. Joe is the chair of the Conservation Commission here in Westfield. So we've gotten a little bit of information about the background of conservation commissions, all those C's, conservation commissions, and how they got started. And Joe and I were talking off air. I mean, in a lot of ways, Massachusetts was really well ahead of its time because, again, this was back in the 1950s. People really weren't talking about, pollution and wetlands and conservation back in the 50s. That became more popular as we got into the 60s and 70s. Right. So I love that. And in a lot of ways, that parallels to Massachusetts paying attention to their older adults. Yep. Also the first state in the country to have a cabinet level executive office of elder affairs. Yeah. Oh, wow. So ahead of its time. We live in a great state.
Yep.
So Joe has this wonderful proverbial story to tell, which I think really, I love that it really illustrates what you do, what the commission does. And then I want to segue into some of the other points that you wanted to make, Joe, that you feel is really important for the public to be aware of.
Yeah. So this is a proverb that I stumbled across, and I think it can be applied to a lot of things that are both when you have private and public ownership and resources and things like that. So this is there's a ferry that serves as a river crossing for farmers that are bringing their crops to market. And one day on the crossing, a man on the ferry decides that he's thirsty and he wants to drill a hole in the bottom of the boat to get a drink. Naturally, his companions are not thrilled with that, and they urge him not to drill the hole in the bottom of the boat because they will sink. But the man has paid for his seat. It's his seat. He's going to do what he wants to do with his seat. And so he drills the hole in the bottom of the boat, and the boat sinks. And the ferry is no longer in service. The town dries up and dies because the farmers can't bring their crops to market. And this is sort of what wetland and resource conservation is all about, because these are shared resources, but there's an element of private ownership.
Sure.
And it's all about how we manage the shared resource and not impact the private ownership. You still have to respect the privacy and the right for people to use their lands, and we do have to protect the resource as well. And we have some really big examples in Westfield about that, where we've had contamination of our drinking wells and things like that. And this is what our wetlands do. They filter our drinking water, so when it gets down into the aquifer, it's clean. And if you don't have that element of filtration, you're going to have issues. Right. And so that's the proverb. And that's how it applies in this instance.
And I think that the the point of the proverb as well is that those issues affect the community at large.
Right, they do.
So in this case, it was all of the farmers and of course all of the people that buy the products.
Everyone on that boat.
Oh, right, and everyone on the boat. So I mean, and in this
Yeah.
case, it's it's the same. I mean, it's drinking water is for everyone here.
Right.
So if that's
we're all on
effective-
this boat.
yeah,
We are
exactly.
all on this boat together, and we have to understand that, and we have to respect that.
And Joe, does the Conservation Commission, as they're looking, we've talked about wetlands and water filtration. What about, animals, habitat? Did your group get involved in any of that? How
To
does
a
that work?
degree, to a degree, there's state agencies that are more about endangered species and things
Okay.
like that. And when we have a project brought before us, there may be things that we approve pending state approval from those agencies. So
Okay.
it's kind of part of our purview, and we're certainly aware of it, but it's not the main purpose.
What would be something that if I were a homeowner and I wanted to do something on my property, what would be the kinds of projects that would go before the commission?
Thank you. Great question. Because this is one of the challenges that we face a lot, because there's this misconception that the commission is set up to tell people not to use their land the way they want, and that's simply not the case. The role of the commission is to tell people how to use their land, and how to do not how to use their land, but how to do the projects that they want to do in a way that protects the resource. So in Westfield, we have an awful lot of wetland. We have a ton of waterways. We have a ton of wetland. And we're developing to a point where we're starting to get conflict between development and these wetlands. So when anyone has a wetland in their area, the proper thing to do is go to the Conservation Commission's agent, Nick, and say, okay, how do I do this the right way? And he will absolutely talk them through the process of what it is you have to do properly and correctly to protect the resource and get your project done. There's almost no project that has ever come before us that we say no to.
Okay.
It happens, but it's rare. Where people get themselves into hot water with the commission is they don't want to talk to us because they don't want to be told no. So they go ahead and do the work, and then
somebody
reports it, usually a neighbor. We're not out there patrolling. That's not what we do.
Right.
But when someone brings something to our attention, we are, by law, required to act. And many times when they've gone ahead and done work themselves without the knowledge of what they have to do to protect the resource area, it becomes very expensive to recover from that.
So let's talk, Joe, about specifically what are some of the, like in my head, I'm thinking, okay, like a renovation or an addition. But I mean, is that what we're talking? Like, what are the projects that you're talking about? Like, just give some examples of.
So if you have a home that is bordering a resource area and you want to put an addition on it, if that addition is in our jurisdiction, which is basically 100 feet from the resource area, there's variations on that.
Okay.
But if you're in that jurisdiction, then there has to be a plan of how you're going to protect the resource area when you're doing the work. So let's say you're going to be putting in a new foundation on your addition.
Yep.
And when you do that, you have to dig out a pile of dirt. You have to put it over here. And if that pile of dirt washes into the resource area and damages the resource area, that's a problem.
Okay.
So what you have to make sure you have ahead of time is where you're going to put your erosion control.
Okay.
So that the silt and erosion doesn't end up in the resource area. And those are the things that people don't know on their own.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not, who's going to know that?
Right.
I certainly wouldn't. You know, you'd have to have someone take a look at where the resource area is and say, okay, this is where you have to put your stuff up. Make sure you put your stuff up and don't start until we've examined it to make sure that you're not going to get yourself in trouble. That's the whole goal, is to make sure that your project gets done. Mm-hmm. And we protect the resource area. Really, that's what we're there for. We're there to facilitate, you know.
Okay.
But the challenge is that people just want their project to get done. They aren't thinking so much about the resource area. That's what we're thinking about. Okay. And if they do it without doing it correctly, it can damage a resource area, and then it does get expensive.
So are there other projects besides either renovations or additions that the Conservation Commission has gotten involved with?
Yeah, like a whole new, like whenever you see a new a new building go up, if a new building, an industrial building or anything like that, if it's going up and that's within our jurisdictional area, so if it's within those so many feet of a resource area, whether it's a stream, a river, a floodplain, so land subject to flooding is something that we have jurisdiction over as well, which is a lot of Westfield.
Yeah.
It really is. And so any new project like that that comes down the pike, we have to see the plans on that ahead of time. And those aren't the ones that we have issue with, because there's good professionals around that understand those rules, and they will, guide their client through that.
Okay.
And the plans will come to us really well established ahead of time.
I'm thinking of also, Joe, because those are the two that come to mind, a new structure or the renovation. But what about smaller things, like you want to put an in-ground pool in, or you want to have, a chicken coop, or you want to have, what about those kinds of projects?
It all depends on whether it's within our jurisdiction. Any kind of the safest thing is if you have a question, ask.
Right. I guess my question would be, like, if I'm a property owner, how do I know if it's within your jurisdiction?
You might not.
Okay.
You really don't.
Yeah,
there are. So, technically you could go on the city's website, look at the GIS maps, and look at where they've been mapped out. But sometimes those are out of date, and sometimes they're not as good as on the ground look.
Yeah.
So if you have any question about it, if you know that there's a stream behind your property, if you know that there's a little marsh behind your property, if you know that, I've got a vernal pool over here, it's really off my property, but I'm not really sure how close I am, the safest thing is to just give a quick call to the conservation office. And Nick is well prepared, and he fields these calls all day long.
Okay.
This is the property. Okay, I got it. This is, nope, you're not in our jurisdiction. Don't worry about it. Oh, you are in our jurisdiction. Come on in. Let's talk about it. And then he can talk people through that process of what they have to do. The safest thing is to ask.
Okay.
If you don't, even if you kind of don't know, if you've got a project planned, we're so close to so many resource areas in Westfield. There's not a whole lot of places that aren't associated with resource areas. So the safest thing is to play it safe and ask. And then hopefully it'll be like, nope, you're not in the resource area.
Don't worry about it.
Yourself
Whatever
out.
you want to do.
Yep, bang it out.
If you're just joining us this morning, my guest is Joe Jaffoon. Joe is chair of the Conservation Commission here in Westfield. So we're talking about sort of the history of the Conservation Commission, what their role is, the fact that we have 7 commissioners in Westfield who really are a good representative of, sort of small businesses and home ownership and education in the college and university. Joe, off air, and I know I want to get to this so that you have plenty of time to explain this. So you were talking off air about signage, and when we see a sign that says a conservation area, of course, I am the first to say, "Oh, I'm not allowed to go in there. That's a conservation area." And of course, I think along the lines of, there are all kinds of animals that I'm not allowed to be around, or I'm not allowed to watch or touch or whatever. But apparently, that's a misconception.
Yeah.
I'm wrong. So explain that.
Yeah.
And what's the commission's role in all that?
So one of my goals is that the commission is tasked with wetland protection, but also we have quite a bit of acreage that's under our. We have conservation restrictions that we own.
Okay.
So a person wants to put their property under conservation restriction, so that it can't be developed or so that it can only be used the way they want it to be used. That happens a lot, and it happens a lot in Westfield. And a lot of times, the Conservation Commission ends up being the restriction holder.
Okay.
And that's a legal thing where now we're responsible for making sure that the land is used the way it wants to be used.
Okay.
And then there's the cases where we actually own the land as well.
Okay.
And so that's a big part of our role too, and I want it to be a more proactive part of our role.
Kind of prominent.
More prominent part of our role. Thank you. And so getting to I think we've all seen it, and so certainly this was my conception of it too before I got onto the commission here. When you see a sign that says conservation area, my first reaction was, I better stay out of that.
Yeah.
And that's simply not the case. It is for public use. It's just how it's for public use. So there might be things that you're not supposed to do on it. And what we have not done a very good job of, and what I hope to do a better job of going forward, and I really need community involvement for this, is to get in an area that I'm going to use an example. We have
perfect.
Out by Camp Shepherd.
Okay.
There's a place that's under restriction called Petoniac Fields.
Okay.
And there is provisions to put a parking area in there. There's provisions to put walking trails in there. We haven't been able to pull that off and get it done.
Okay.
So what I want to see happen is that in every area these are things that the taxpayers of Westfield have paid for, and they should be able to use them. There should be parking area. There should be a kiosk that says who donated the land and why, because sometimes these are really interesting stories. They're old Westfield families that want this land preserved. They used it for farming. They used it for whatever was in the family. And they said, okay, we want this to stay undeveloped. Mm-hmm. And so I think that their story should be told. I think it's really important. And then it should be how you use this land and where you can go on it. Mm-hmm. And then in that specific example, the Audubon Society, we own the land. The Audubon Society holds a restriction on it. And they are perfectly, it's within the use of the land, the rules that were set up originally to put walking trails on it, to do all that sort of thing. And so we need to do that. We're going to need to get in community involvement to do that. We're going to have to have, like the Friends of the Columbia Greenway has their friends group. We're going to have a friends type group that helps us do that, because these 7 volunteer commissioners aren't going to be able to pull this off. Guess what? We have full-time jobs,
Right.
So, but that's my goal, is to get more community involvement in that way, and to get the commission to be more proactive in that way, in letting the community know. So if we come up with a standard signage, a standard look, that once they see it and they recognize it, they go, oh, I've seen one of those over on this side of town. I wonder if this is the same. And you go to this little informational space and it says, okay, this is what it is. This is who donated it. This is what you can and cannot do on this property. And here's where you can go. Yeah. And that's really my goal. If I can pull that off, it's going to be a long slog.
Yeah, it is a long. Do you have any idea of how, like, the number of these conservation areas? I mean, or like any?
I should.
That's okay.
But I don't.
And if you don't know, that's fine.
You'll I have a spreadsheet.
Next time you come around, you'll let us know.
I'll bring the spreadsheet.
I mean, I love that idea.
Yeah.
I love that idea for every reason. First of all, if it's a conservation area, it's for those who are, kind of more outdoorsy type people. Those are exactly the kind of places that you want to be on.
It is.
But I also love the idea of the family story, because, I just found, even with the senior center, I was just telling somebody not long ago, we were having a discussion about Mary Noble, who owned the land, and, and that whole process of obtaining the land, what her will said, what it didn't say, what her intention was. And those are all, those are all important stories to tell.
They're really important
stories. It's important to tell them now, while the people who know the stories are alive and can relay the stories, as opposed to, 50 years from now, it's like, well, my great-great-grandfather owned that property, and that's all I know about it. I don't really know.
That's a big part of it, is maintaining that storyline, because that's exactly what happens. That was, they did something with it, and now nobody can use it, and, they don't really understand what the original intent was, what the process was.
Yep.
And I think explaining that process to people of how land goes under restriction and what that really means is really important. And that should be a big part of our role, not just the wetlands protection, the resource protection, very important.
Yeah.
But we also have this other role to play too, and I think that we have to make that one of our priorities.
Sort of the rules and regulations piece of it. So Joe, we only have a few minutes left. Again, if you're just joining us, you're late in the game. But my guest this morning is Joe Jaffoon, chair of the Conservation Commission here in Westfield. We have Earth Day coming up in April, so
I have to talk about that. That's right.
Need to talk about Earth Day. We got about 4 minutes left. Let's talk about Earth Day.
Earth Day is coming up. So, I would be severely chastised if I didn't get to Earth Day.
I'm not going to let you forget that.
Thank you so much. We have Earth Day is on Saturday, April 25th, and this involves kind of getting together and going around and doing a little bit of cleanup. I don't know, have you ever been involved in it before?
No, because usually on the same day, which we are this year as well, we're doing the Drug Take Back Day at the Senior Center. We're having that senior.
That's really funny.
Well, it's great though, because I say to people, "This is your day." I mean, they've got. I know on Earth Day they've got whatever it is. Heart Springs is going to be there. It's your clean out time. Like you drop your drugs off, go help them clean up the city. Yep. Absolutely, yeah.
Yep. So last year was my very first Earth Day. I'd never done it before. So I was a rookie last year. But it's going to be an 8 a.m. meetup at 72 Broad Street in Westfield at the Mount Moriah Lodge.
The Masonic Lodge
Yep.
on Broad Street.
You got it. And you get your cleanup gear and your breakfast goodies there, and then you can get assigned locations. There is a sign up on the city's website, or you can call Nick at 413-642-9308. He'd be able to fill you in on it. Or you can email him at Nicholas Balick at cityofwestfield.org. The Conservation Commission does have a form on there that you can pre-register for.
Okay.
And you can ask which area you want to go to.
Yeah, if you have a specific
spot that you'd like to go. And we've gotten some crazy stuff. You know, we like boats and old ovens and old toilets and just as well as like 5 million nip bottles and stuff like that. So it's a good thing. There's several tons of trash that get cleaned up during that day. So I'd encourage anyone to get out there. It really was a good experience last year. It was far too long that I didn't do it. So I was glad I did it last year.
Absolutely. And and you guys need a flyer. You have to get me a flyer. I want to post a flyer at the senior center.
I'll put Nick on that.
Yeah, put Nick on it because he can just use I would have used last year's. You just have to change the date. I think everything pretty much is the same.
It's all the same.
So tell him I need a flyer.
I will absolutely.
He gets me a flyer. I'll get him volunteers.
I'll text him from the truck on the way.
Tell him you get me a flyer. I'll get you volunteers. But you don't get me a flyer, I have nothing to post.
That's right.
I have several places that I can put it up at the senior center.
You're on.
And I will continue to announce it on the show.
Good.
But I do my show announcements through the flyers that people send me. I mean, the ones from the senior center, we develop ourselves. So I got all those. But the ones in the community, if people send me flyers, I post them at the senior center, but I also take a copy and that gets announced on my show. So
that's great.
Earth Day is actually April 22nd, but Earth Day cleanup, for the city of Westfield will be Saturday, April 25th. It is the same day as our Senior Safety Saturday at the Senior Center in the parking lot. So you can drop off your unused or expired medications and all of that kind of stuff. The fire department will be there with information that they'll be handing out, and I'll be with them doing my Retire the Fire program. And then you can just segue right over to Broad Street and, do that whole scene. Or you can do that whole scene first. Ours goes from 10 to 2, so you can come over afterward,
A couple hours of trash
all is good,
in.
but you know what? You'd be surprised because I've been doing this a lot of years now. So we have the shred event, we have the drug take back event, all going on in April. You'd be surprised, Joe. People are cleaning out their closets, their garages, their basements,
cool.
And it really is cool. It really does become, because I see the stuff coming through, and I had people the last 2 years dropping off their drugs, and I could see like the clothes and all that in the back that were going right over to Heart Springs, which was part of the cleanup.
It was
and
a
Earth
cleanup day.
Like go right there, and they tell me it's like, Tina, from here we're going right over. I said, there you go, you're going right over there. So
love it.
All of that on the city website. All right, thank you so much for joining us. My guest this morning has been Joe Jaffoon. Joe is chair of the Conservation Commission. All of that is on the city website, all the information, how to get a hold of Nick, the agent with the commission. We are going to go off with Joni Mitchell singing Big Yellow Taxi.
Nice.
We can't not do that on
right.
this. You are listening to WSFD 107.5 FM on your dial. You are watching cable channel 15, WCPC, and I will be back next week. Thank you.
They paved paradise, put up a parking lot with a pink hotel, a boutique, and a swinging hot spot. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. They took all the trees, put them in a tree museum, and they charged the people $1.50 just to see them. Seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone. They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. Hey, farmer, put away the DDT now. Give me spots on the apples, or leave me the birds and the bees. Please don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone. They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. Late last night, I heard the screen door slam, and a big yellow taxi took away my old man. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. I said, don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. They paved paradise, put up a parking lot.